What would you do if you got fired, walked to your car shaking, and saw a police cruiser pull in behind you before you could even leave? The worst thing you could do in that moment is try to talk your way back into control. One angry sentence, one reach for your phone, or one lap around the parking lot can turn losing a job into trespass, obstruction, or even arrest. Hit subscribe right now because what I'm about to show you could keep one bad day from becoming a criminal case. Like this video too, because when your job just vanished and your nerves are blown up, you need simple words you can actually remember. Here's what you're about to learn. First, the one question that tells you whether police are really holding you or just talking. Second, the exact line that protects your car, your bag, and your phone after your boss starts making accusations. Third, the moment you stop explaining and ask for a lawyer. And fourth, the mistake fired employees make in the parking lot that turns a civil mess into a criminal one. Most people have no idea that the most dangerous 5 minutes after getting fired are not in the manager's office. They are in the parking lot inside your car with security staring at you, your phone buzzing, and police deciding what kind of scene this is. Let me show you exactly what to say before panic does the talking for you. Now let's talk about why this matters to you. When people get fired, they feel embarrassed, angry, scared, and desperate all at once. That is a brutal mix. You may want to call your spouse, you may want to text coworkers, you may want to run back inside and grab your stuff. You may want to explain to police that your boss is lying. All of that feels normal. But normal is not safe in this moment. Here's the reality. The second your employer says you are no longer allowed on the property, everything changes. If you stay, go back in, circle the lot, grab company items, or start deleting things from your phone, your bad workday can look like a criminal story. And once police hear words like threat, theft, laptop, badge, files, or trespass, they stop seeing a firing. They start seeing a case. The first thing you need to do is lock down the scene and find out if you are actually being held. Here's exactly what you say. Officer, am I being detained or am I free to leave? Word for word. Memorize that line. This question matters because fired people do something very dangerous. They guess. They assume they have to sit there because a police car is behind them. Or they assume they can just peel out because nobody has said the magic word detained yet. Both mistakes can hurt you. If you are free to leave, sitting there talking can only make things worse. If you are being detained, trying to drive off can turn a bad day into a chase, an obstruction charge, or worse. So you need clarity fast, and you need it in plain English, not with attitude, not with a speech about your rights, just the clean question. Bad way. Most drivers say I didn't do anything wrong, and my boss is lying. Then they keep talking, keep arguing, and stay planted in a scene that keeps getting worse. Good way. Smart drivers say, officer, am I being detained, or am I free to leave? Then they force the moment to become clear. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos, and this is the spot where things split in two. One person keeps explaining and gets buried in their own words. Another person asks the one clean question, gets an answer, and avoids making the scene bigger than it already is. Watch what happens when you skip this. The officer asks what happened inside. You tell your side. Then security says you refuse to leave. Then HR says a laptop is missing. Then someone says you threatened a supervisor. Now you are stuck in a roadside argument about facts you cannot fix in real time. That never helps you. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. Terry v. Ohio says police can briefly detain you if they have specific facts suggesting crime. Plain English, they need a real reason, not just a vibe. That is why your question matters. It makes them show which lane this is, a real detention or just contact. And there is one more layer here. After you are fired, the property issue changes fast. The company may no longer want you inside, near the loading dock, near your locker, or even parked in the lot. So if the officer says you are free to leave, leave. Do not sit there to make calls. Do not loop the building. Do not wait to see which coworker comes out. The parking lot is no longer your stage. Former police officers have confirmed this works because it lowers heat. The officer no longer has to guess whether you are trying to leave, resist, or argue. You ask the question, they answer it. Now you know your next safe move. Still watching? Good. Drop a comment and tell me if you think you'd stay calm enough to ask that question after getting fired, and hit like if this is already showing you how fast a workplace mess can turn into a police problem. The second thing you need is the line that protects your car, your backpack, and especially your phone. Here's exactly what you say. Officer, I do not consent to any searches, including my phone. Word for word. Memorize that line. This line matters because the second an employer makes an accusation, police often want the fastest shortcut to proof. They want to look in your bag for company. Property. They want to look in your car for a laptop, badge, tools, files, or products. They want to look in your phone for texts, photos, emails, or messages to coworkers. And when you are shaken up from being fired, you are much more likely to say yes just to seem innocent. That is a huge mistake. Bad way. Most drivers say sure, go ahead, I have nothing to hide. Then the search gets wider, deeper, and way more damaging than they expected. Good way. Smart drivers say officer, I do not consent to any searches, including my phone. Then police have to rely on actual legal grounds, not your panic. This is 100% legal. Refusing consent is not obstruction, it is not an admission, it is not you being rude, it is you refusing to make the state's job easier with your own hands. Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. Police do not always need a big dramatic yes. They often just need you to act like yes. You unlock the phone. Just to show them one text. You open the trunk to prove the laptop is not there. You unzip the bag because you want this over with. That can become consent. Let me show you exactly why your phone is the biggest trap after a firing. Your phone may hold angry texts, messages with coworkers, screenshots of company systems, photos from inside the building, or private chats where you vented and said dumb things, even if none of that proves a crime. It can create new questions, new interpretations, and new pressure. The second you unlock it for them, your world gets smaller. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it protects the record. If police search anyway, your lawyer can later fight over whether they had a lawful reason. But if you hand them the phone or open the bag on your own, you just made that fight much harder. The Supreme Court. Case you need to know here is Riley v. California. Plain English. Your phone is not just another object. It holds a huge part of your life, and police usually need proper legal authority to search it. That is why your refusal matters so much, and do not miss this part. Refusing consent does not guarantee the search stops. Police may claim they have another reason. Fine. Make them carry that burden. Do not carry it for them. Your job is to protect yourself, not to help them build a cleaner case. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection when the accusation is tied to messages, files, photos, or company property. Fired people feel guilty, angry, and eager to prove they did nothing wrong. That emotional mix makes consent way too easy. Do not fall for it. The third thing you need is the line for the moment this goes from awkward to dangerous. Here's exactly what you say. I want a lawyer, and I choose to remain silent. Word for word. Memorize that line. This is the point where most people lose everything. They think they can talk their way back into fairness. They think if they explain the firing story clearly enough, police will see the boss is overreacting. That is fantasy. Once officers start asking whether you took property, threatened someone, copied files, touched a coworker, or refused to leave, you are no longer in a normal work argument. You are in criminal territory. Bad way. Most drivers say, let me explain what really happened in there. Then they give a long emotional story with 10 facts police can test and twist. Good way. Smart drivers say, I want a lawyer, and I choose to remain silent. Then the free evidence stops. Coming from their own mouth, this is 100% legal. You do not need to wait until the officer sounds nice enough. You do not need to give one last explanation first. You do not need to prove you are a good employee. Once the questions turn criminal, your safest move is the line. Listen closely because this is critical. You must say it clearly. Not maybe I need a lawyer. Not should I have a lawyer? Not can I call somebody? You say the exact line and then you stop talking. If you keep talking after asking for a lawyer, you start undoing your own protection. Here's the reality. Fired employees often feel a crazy need to defend their name right there in the lot. They want police to know the boss was unfair. They want security to hear their side. They want their old coworkers to see them as the victim. None of that helps if the officer is now thinking about theft, threats, trespass, or damage to company systems. Miranda v. Arizona is the famous case here. Plain English. When police are questioning you in custody, you have the right to stay silent and ask for a lawyer. That does not mean every parking lot contact starts with Miranda. It does not. But once you are no longer free and the questions are aimed at proving a crime, your words become incredibly dangerous. Let me show you exactly why this line saves people. Imagine the officer says, if you just tell me where the laptop is, I can help you. Or if you just explain why you texted your supervisor like that, we can clear this up. That sounds like a lifeline. It usually is not. It is a pressure tool. The more upset you are, the more likely you are to grab it. Here's the reality. Once you are fired, you are already emotionally flooded. Your memory gets sloppy. your anger gets louder. Then your judgment. Your instinct says talk. Your safest move says stop. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings, and it is one of the few clean lines you can still control after a bad day spins out. Silence feels hard because it feels passive. But in a police encounter, silence is often your strongest active move. Most people already clicked away. If you're still here, you're in the top group that actually wants to protect themselves when life gets ugly. Drop a comment saying I'm still here and hit that like button because now I'm going to tie the whole legal picture together. Let's connect the law in simple English. Terry v. Ohio tells you police need specific facts to detain you for a brief investigation. That is why your first question matters. You need to know whether you are being held or whether you should leave cleanly. Riley v. California tells you your phone is special and deeply private. That is why your second line matters. You do not casually unlock your life for police just because your boss made an accusation. Miranda v. Arizona tells you that once police are questioning you in custody, silence and counsel matter. That is why your third line matters. You stop trying to win the argument with words and start protecting yourself with discipline. Put those together and the pattern gets simple. First, you do not guess whether you are detained. You ask. Second, you do not open your bag, your car, or your phone to prove innocence on the roadside. Third, when criminal questions start, you stop trying to save your reputation with explanations and you ask for a lawyer. And let me make one thing clear. None of this means you resist lawful orders. If an officer tells you to step out, step out. If the officer lawfully needs your license, give it. If you are told to leave the property and you are free to go, leave right away. The point is not to fight. The point is to stop making things worse. That is the whole game after a firing. Not winning, not proving, not venting, just avoiding the extra mistake that turns one loss into a much bigger one. Now picture a real scenario. You get fired from a warehouse job, HR walks you out, you are furious, embarrassed, and already texting a coworker. You sit in your car, still in the lot, and security tells police they think you took a company tablet and may have sent angry messages. This is where people crash their own lives. Wrong way first. You sit there calling coworkers. You circle the lot because you want to cool off. A police car pulls behind you. The officer walks up and asks what happened. You unload your whole story. Then the officer asks if the tablet is in your backpack. You say, go ahead and look, I've got nothing to hide. Then they ask to see your phone because of the messages. You unlock it to prove your boss lied. Now police have your story, your consent, your texts, and possibly something else they did not even know to ask for. At the start, bad way, most drivers say I just want to show you I did nothing. Then they hand over the very things that make the case stronger. Now the right way, you sit still, keep your hands visible, and breathe. The officer walks up. You ask, officer, am I being detained or am I free to leave? If the answer is that you are free to go, you leave the property right now. No victory lap, no waiting for friends, no more parking lot scene. If the officer says you are being detained and questions start about bags, your car, or your phone, you say, officer, I do not consent to any searches, including my phone. If the officer keeps pressing and the questions turn into accusations, you say, I want a lawyer, and I choose to remain silent. Watch what happens when the fired employee uses those lines. Instead of emotion, the stop gets smaller, the record gets cleaner, the officer has less free material, the lawyer has more room to help later. That is the win. Not feeling heard, not sounding right, just making fewer mistakes than the moment is begging you to make. Next week I'm breaking down what to say when police ask to search your phone after a workplace complaint or domestic argument. Subscribe right now because that one mistake destroys people who think they are just clearing things up. So here's your recap. First, after getting fired, the parking lot is not the place to talk your way back into control. Second, ask whether you are detained or free to leave so you stop guessing. Third, never consent to searches of your car, bag, or phone just because you feel pressured to look innocent. Fourth, when the questions turn criminal, ask for a lawyer and shut up. Losing a job is brutal. But losing your freedom because you panicked afterward is even worse. Hit subscribe so you catch the next video before you ever need it in real life. Smash that like button if this just changed how you'd handle the worst day at work, and drop a comment telling me which line you're going to memorize first. Stay safe out there.